We may find the imaginings of horror fascinating, and being scared somewhat exciting, of course depending on who we are. With that considered, I would like you to imagine yourself having just gone to sleep and then having suddenly woken up. However, you have no control. You cannot move, speak, and you cannot avert your eyes. You feel a presence in the room with you. It sends chills throughout your entire body. You look to your bedroom door, and there is a tall, shadowy figure looming towards you, its hands reaching out as it now prepares to climb onto your bed. That is a brief detailing to the terrifying experience we know as sleep paralysis, a state in between sleeping and waking where we can hallucinate both visually and audially. Although is what we experience a hallucination at all. I have made a short film on this channel which gives an impression of what an episode of sleep paralysis can look and feel like, which I would definitely recommend checking out. As a sufferer of sleep paralysis myself, I've developed an interest in understanding more about the terrifying experience that it is. I have also written several short films based on my own experiences. The thought and the recall of it is a horrifying prospect that fills me with dread, as it does to anybody who's had the misfortune of experiencing it, and yet we still find ourselves fascinated by it, and of course other sleep-related conditions, especially throughout films like A Nightmare on Elm Street, Slumber, Shadow People, and many others. The subject of nightmares are used to express some of the darkest and more dormant depths of our minds, whether they be subconscious imaginings developed by ourselves to give us guidance and counsel, or simply a form of paranormal and psychological terror. We can all agree that they are overwhelmingly horrifying and can leave us in a terrified waking state. To better understand what sleep paralysis is, I intend to look at it both scientifically and also at the paranormal aspects as well. Dating back to the Middle Ages, we can see written accounts of what is referred to as a creature named as the Night Hag, as depicted in the infamous painting The Nightmare by Henry Fuseli in 1781. In Norse folklore, sleep paralysis is caused by a demonic being known as a mare, another form of incubi, and also referred to as a damned woman, who is cursed and that her body is carried during her sleep without her knowing, to then sit on the chests of those sleeping and give them what were later named for that reason, nightmares. There are many accounts of different entities and visitors to sufferers, and one of the most prominent is the taunting Hat Man, a tall, shadowy being draped in a long black coat and its head donned with a black hat which obscures its face. Unlike its counterparts, the Shadow People, whom take more of an active approach in moving around the room and towards the sufferer, the Hat Man stands menacingly, watching the sufferer, and at times is even accompanied by several Shadow People who may also stand beside, or sometimes will torment the sufferer, as for they are best known. It is all the more terrifying that when you come across another sufferer, you will find that they have very likely been visited by the same or very similar visitors as yourself, which sparks the question, are we chosen by these tormentors, and that by undergoing the experience, we are opening a part of our mind where these beings lie dormant, always around us, wanting to be noticed? Could it be when we experience the sense of being watched, that we for just a moment develop an instance where we can connect to these beings? Sleep paralysis is recognized as a parasomnia, or an undesired event that is associated with sleep. It happens just after falling asleep or upon awakening in the morning, in the time between waking and sleeping. Episodes are often accompanied by hypnagogic experiences, which are visual, auditory, and sensory hallucinations. Episodes tend to consistently fall into one of three of the following categories. Intruder. There are sounds of doorknobs opening, shuffling footsteps, a shadow man, or a sense of a threatening presence in the room. Incubus. Feelings of pressure on the chest, difficulty breathing with the sense of being smothered, strangled, or sexually assaulted by a malevolent being. The individuals believe they are about to die. Vestibular motor. A visual of spinning, falling, floating, flying, hovering over one's body, or other types of outer-body experiences. An episode of sleep paralysis may cause you to be unable to speak. It can also make you unable to move your arms and legs, body and head. You are still able to breathe somewhat. You are also fully aware of what is happening. An episode can last for seconds or minutes. The episode usually ends on its own. It may also end when someone touches you or speaks to you. Making an intense effort to move can also potentially end an episode. Sleep paralysis may only occur once in your life. It may also happen many times in a single year. Having somewhat brushed on an element of what we believe to understand as sleep paralysis, I want to share one of my own experiences. As someone who has suffered from it from my child up until recently. For myself, when an episode is triggered, there is a sudden change in atmosphere to the room, as though it has become somewhat darker, the air denser, and a sense of what I like to call dark electricity resonates throughout the room and around myself. Another of explaining it is imagining being underwater. However, water is not wet, although it keeps its density, and it feels like it is getting warmer. There is a soft current which gradually builds, and as it does, it feels like tiny sharp teeth are pricking into my skin. And it's at that moment I know I now cannot move. My body is no longer mine to control. It has control now. The air in the room is fear in form, and my lungs are filled with it, and it is coursing throughout my body, shutting it down. I have endured this enough before to know that it is a good thing I cannot move. However, almost as a way of torturing me further, I cannot close my eyes. It's then I hear it. It's heavy, raspy breathing filling the room, like a dying man suffering some vile lung infection, although there is nothing weak about it. I can feel its overwhelming strength, its dominance. It is loud only to let me know it is near, and it has passed my last bastion of safety, the door frame leading into my room. Now its footsteps have grown loud, heavy, and slow. It won't rush for terror to ensue. It wants me to endure the suspense, as I feel it now approaching the foot of my bed. Its presence generates an ocean of sharp, cold air. I can feel inside my head, like it has for near 20 years. It wants me to look. It is demanding I look. My eyes start to fill with tears under the strain of me for what seems hours of trying to force them shut. I can feel it's now angry, and now I feel like a child shut in a box with 100 holes around me, with eyes staring in and long, sharp, cold needles slowly edging towards me. It is doing something it has never done. It lifts the duvet from my legs, and I can feel the presence of its vile appendage approaching my now exposed flesh. A burst of heat and a tremendous pain race throughout my nerves. I shamefully force my eyes to stay shut, and somehow now it is gone. The heaviness, the cold, the electricity, it has gone. The next day, however, I awoke with a severe bruising around my leg. It was too painful to even stand up or walk. I to this day still don't know how to explain exactly what happened to me. But as from when I first started experiencing it as a child, and now to my adult age, it seems to be escalating, to be gaining confidence, and it terrifies me.